Hi, everyone. Welcome to Dev Propulsion Labs, our podcast about the business of developer tools. My name is Victoria Melnikova. I'm the head of new business at Evil Martians. And today I'm excited to introduce Anuraag Gutgutia, founder and CEO of TrueFoundry. Hi, Anuraag.
Hi, Victoria. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm very excited to talk about the dev GTM and, how it kind of impacts the way AI can propel in the world. And very excited with the last episodes that I've seen, especially of some of my fellow co-founders in the similar space. So looking forward to it.
Yes. So as I mentioned, Dev Propulsion Labs is the podcast about developer tools, and the industry of developer tools is changing a lot these days. So let's start with an introduction. What is TrueFoundry? Who are you? What brought you to founding TrueFoundry?
So TrueFoundry is an enterprise AI platform. Our goal is to enable enterprises to build, scale, and deploy Gen AI and Agentic AI applications in their enterprise and do it without any constraint of what compute they are running it on and within their VPC. And in order to power that, we offer two products primarily. One is an AI gateway product that allows you to bring all the components that go into Agentic AI, whether it's the models, the MCP servers, the agents itself, and gives you full observability governance around that. And the second is our deployment platform, which allows you to deploy your agents, deploy your large language models, and scale it without worrying about how you manage the underlying infrastructure.
Can you give us your kind of background? Because you manage the hedge fund, right? That's your background. What brought you to found an ML tool basically in 2021, 2022?
Yeah. So I used to work for a hedge fund called WorldQuant, and we used to be an algorithmic trading fund. So we used to use like signals across the globe to kind of forecast how stocks will move. And I used to be a portfolio manager trading equities as well as currencies. Got a chance to manage around 600 million in assets for them. So that was a really good experience. And at that time, my fellow co-founders, Nikunj and Abhishek, we went to school together at IIT Kharagpur in 2009 to 13. So I've known them for like 16 years. And they were at Meta. And Meta has a really solid internal platform for machine learning, which was called FBLearner. And you can imagine that companies like Meta are like at least 5 to 7 years ahead of the curve. So even though Meta released Llama in 2022, they have probably been working on this for years, right? And when we used to discuss the way, Abhishek and Nikunj used to kind of take models into production in Meta versus the difference that existed in the public domain, we found there is a huge gap. And we thought if we can build and bring that platform to other companies around the globe, it can accelerate in general the AI for other companies. And that's how we started TrueFoundry. Our goal was to bring an FBLearner, which was the Meta's internal platform, to every company around the globe and do it at scale.
Interesting. So this wasn't your first time founding a company, right?
Yeah, this was not. Yeah.
What does it take to take that leap? Like, was it your friends that reached out and said, hey, Anuraag, let's start this new business? Or how did it start for you?
It was kind of a mix of several things. So in my college days, I wanted to build something and we had started something in the education segment. But obviously, as a college kid, you probably don't know much. We raised some funds from the government, but finally we exited it. And we realized that, okay, there is a lot more that needs to go into building a startup. And after a while, once I was in the job, spent 6 years there, got a sense of the industry, reached out to my friends and they were in the same boat. They have been at Meta for several years and wanted to create an impact for the world. And we felt that there could be a huge impact that we can create, especially as AI is going through an inflection point. And it is kind of very, surreal for us that when we started, AI was still going through small trajectories of growth. But suddenly in 2022 and like after ChatGPT launched, it actually went through an inflection curve. So a lot of things that we wanted to happen suddenly is propelled with speed via this. So I think the main reason is, being able to create impact, and then working with co-founders you have known for a long time just makes the life easier. So, that was a really good segue to start something of my own.
That's interesting. Did you always envision TrueFoundry as a top-down company? Do you always target enterprise?
How the GTM works?
Yeah.
Not really. Like when we started, like our primary target audience was a lot of enterprises because what we realized is if you look at like, let's say the Fortune 1000 companies and you kind of go into how is each company doing and impacted by AI, you'll be surprised that a lot of them aren't really using AI in production. And that kind of was not aligning for us because we felt that the tech companies, when you think of Meta or Google, they are using AI to scale. So when we tried to decipher what is different, we realized that it's actually the core platform that can make it really good. And our goal was, can we actually enable all these enterprises to really scale AI in the right way? And that's how we started. And because of that, initially, our approach was, hey, we'll reach out to the people who can have the say in these organizations, which will be like the chief AI officers or heads of platform engineering and so on. But as AI has grown, I think we do work with a lot of smaller and mid-market companies. And in order to get the developer love, we have worked on a lot of bottom-up motion over the last year as well.
Kind of like go through the last year. And what did it mean for TrueFoundry? Because you started it in 2022, right?
Correct.
And the original pitch was ML workflows. Like what was the original pitch?
Yeah, maybe I can tell you what the original start was and how it transitioned.
Yes.
So when we originally started, our pitch was, we want to bring an enterprise AI platform that enables data scientists and machine learning engineers to deploy models in the best way with the best SRE practices in a cost optimized manner and with the right governance within their enterprise, within their VPC and a multi-cloud or a hybrid environment, and do it at meta scale. That was our pitch when we started in 2022. And one of our first enterprises we were working with was a pharma company, one of the big pharma companies in US. And while they were working with us, ChatGPT got launched. And 3 months after that, they wanted to deploy their own large language models. And they kind of told us, hey, can you enable this deployment platform to support the deployment of, Llama, which was launched by Meta, and some of our other fine-tuned models that we can do within our own compute. And that's where we extended the platform to support deployment of large language models. And slowly, as we went into more depth, it was not just about models. It was a lot of other components. Like today, you want to deploy MCP servers, you want to deploy agents. And one of the things that stood out for us that helped us was from day zero, we built it as a software engineering platform. So it was never like an ML ops platform. It was always a platform that took any code you wrote, Dockerized it, and deployed it. So even if you had to deploy agents, it'll just work. Even if you had to deploy MCPs, it'll just work. So we just extended the positioning to kind of cover that. So that was one major change that happened. So from deployment of models to deployment of any services that goes into AI, some model, MCPs, agents, etc. The second change, which is even bigger change, I would say, is as AI progressed further, like maybe end of 2023, when Gen AI was 1 year into its cycle, a lot of companies that we were working with, they realized that it'll not be one model. It'll be probably OpenAI along with Bedrock, along with Anthropic. And they wanted to have a way to be able to control how these models are used within their company. Who all has access to which models? How do I ensure there are the right limits so that someone does not end up creating like a huge cost bottleneck? How do I ensure if one model goes down, the other model is able to pick up? And I'm able to put the right guardrails. So that is where, again, one of the enterprises we are working with wanted to have this layer, which at that time was called LLM proxy. It has evolved to like an LLM gateway and now AI gateway. And that's where we kind of built our AI gateway. And from day zero, we built it in a way that it could cover all the components that go into Agentic AI. So these are the two product lines we offer. And any company that is building Agentic AI in production is starting and wanting to have an AI gateway internally where they can manage their models, MCP servers with observability, governance, and reliability. And that is something that has changed. So earlier it was just a deployment platform, but today we have a deployment platform, but also an AI gateway platform.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a natural evolution of something that technologically you already had, and now you're just serving the needs of today, basically.
Exactly.
Has your customer profile changed in these years? Because right now, everybody probably wants to have AI in their enterprise.
I think it has changed quite a lot, Victoria. So when we started, We used to sell to like the heads of data science, heads of machine learning, and generally the interface with the engineering was not as high because not all platform engineering teams were involved into AI. Like they were mostly involved into their software development kit and so on. But with Gen AI, what has changed is suddenly AI is no longer a data science thing. It is like anyone is using it, right? Like within the organization, and all the engineers are using these models as APIs and building agents that they can scale. So today, the customer profile, when we look at the ICPs, has changed from the heads of data science to also heads of platform engineering, heads of IT infrastructure who manage these endpoints within the company. Sometimes because security is so important, we end up talking to the CISOs in organizations who want to care about, oh, what are the guardrails that are being imposed? How is MCP authentication secured? So there are a bunch of persona that has now become important and relevant to us. And that has been one change. The second change has been what you pointed out pretty much. Like earlier, out of 10 companies we used to talk to, 8 used to tell, okay, we are doing some AI, but there is less business impact. But today, every single company we talk to, whether it's a mid-market company, whether it's an early enterprise, or whether it's a Fortune 100 company, all of them cannot avoid AI. It's now a boardroom discussion. It's like a boardroom stakes for them, and they want to invest into it. And suddenly, there is impact in the bottom line in terms of, how can I scale my customer success processes, or, automation in customer success or customer support, or how can I improve my internal processes. And now it has gone into launching these AI products to actual customers to deliver ROI, because people have realized that if they don't do it, they'll start becoming irrelevant. And now when we talk to companies, like 10 out of 10 is pretty much the number. Yeah.
So as your ICP has transformed into something new, how does that affect your developer experience? Do you have to think about your product differently and how it's served?
Yes. There has been some changes, Victoria, but one of the things has been from day zero, we built our product to be very software engineering focused. And the good thing for us was suddenly software engineers who actually weren't the direct users, a lot of times have now started becoming users. So the product already took care of that. We always had like GitOps built into the system. We always had YAMLs that software engineers like to use. We always had APIs that people like to consume. It's just that now there are, software engineers who are using it at huge scale.
Yes.
So the experience layer needs to become even better. And there are a lot of infrastructure level flexibility that you want to build into your product. For example, because AI has become so important, because data is so important, suddenly people want things like, oh, out of all this data that is passing through OpenAI, I want certain piece of data to be stored somewhere else with certain access, and certain piece of data to be stored somewhere else. So those architectural patterns and design changes are what the product, encounters. And then the second change has been that now even smaller organizations with developers are signing up automatically, and they want to kind of connect their models, because now everyone has an OpenAI key. They want to connect it. They want to see the metrics. So you want to make the developer experience in terms of signing up really good. Those were two major changes, I would say.
So as a founder in this space, you probably see a lot of, or hear a lot of conversations about agent experience, right? And what it means today. I'm not sure if it impacts you directly because you're providing infrastructure layer for enterprises, but if we think about what are the main pillars of agent experience in 2026, what would you say is the most important?
So maybe I'll explain this from a fundamental basis, like what exactly is an agent. So an agent in some way is a non-deterministic workflow that has intelligence built into it. And that comes from a set of components within it. So when you look at a real life agent that any company is launching in production, it has primarily 5 components. One is models, which could be your models as APIs or your own hosted models like OpenAI, Llama, whatever. The second is MCP servers, which gives the models the ability to access real-time information or specific information that could be specific to companies, etc. Third is prompts. And prompts have evolved a lot because now agents, like models, have much better capabilities like compared to 3 years ago. So how well your prompts are and how you could version them, how you could, pass the right prompts depending on the right situation is the third pillar. Fourth is guardrails, because if I have to launch it in production, I want to ensure that it's saying the right things. It's not revealing my PII data. It's not saying things that are, hate speech based and so on. And the fifth is an agent itself. So an agent could call another agent that could help it do a subtask. And this could be the main. So long as you have these 5 components, you can build any agent in the world, right? By combining them into workflows and all. So to your question, these are 5 components that you want any company to have an ability to use in a very simple way. And that means that they should be able to access this. They should be able to quickly look and debug things across these 5 components and then build an agentic workflow, test it out and launch it. So that's what it takes to build a real agentic workflow. And that means now that even people who were in data science or ML are starting to think about APIs, which they didn't have to interface with a lot earlier.
So we talked about what an agent is, right? But if we think about another SaaS that agent will be using, we're talking about agent experience, right?
Exactly.
So how do we make it easy for the agent to actually do the job within the given, I don't know what, right?
Yeah. So once you have an agent, now imagine a company, let's say we take an example of Automation Anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Like it has document extraction and document processing. Now, earlier it was a rule-based workflow. Today, it will probably be an agentic experience for a customer where they can pull off models. So the customer who is offering SaaS to other customers is also thinking, how can my product evolve and offer an experience layer for my customers, which is agentic? So that is one level of change that has happened, because now people are not thinking about just internal workflows. It's being launched to their customers, which means that the way you design your product, it has to be built in a way that it allows you to ship this agentic component, which means this 5 components in a box pretty much that you can ship to your customer, either in SaaS or on-prem in case of air-gapped customer. That is something you need to build a capability of. And that's something that's not easy, because it means that you are pretty much shipping now complex models and APIs and other things in a box to a customer. And that needs you to be really good at the infrastructure level.
So now there is this whole debate about how to work with the models, right? And how to prompt your AI workflows and things like that. There was this study. I was just talking with TJ from Chroma about the study that showed that using skills and Agents MD, whatever, it actually burns more tokens and produces worse results. That's what they say, allegedly. Do you have an opinion on that? Like, do you guys have to study it at a certain scale to understand how to serve enterprise customers better?
Victoria, like any new technology when launched has certain flaws, right? Like, so skills as a concept has come very recently. So it'll start getting better. I think we probably need to just look at what was OpenAI when it came versus what the experience is today. Like it used to only access historical data. Today it can access real time. So this is just going to change. I don't think that debate holds that, okay, if you use skills and other things, it'll burn more tokens, because tokens will start becoming less and less costly over a period of time and people will start consuming more tokens. It's like in the industrial age, you are consuming water or coal to produce electricity. Here, it's almost like you're consuming electricity to produce tokens, and people are consuming tokens, and the tokens is going to produce further thing that is going to create ROI. So that's the world today. In order to be ready to enterprises, you need to just ensure that as enterprises or even other companies are consuming these tokens, there is a way for them to control it. For example, let's say you are in an enterprise and similarly there are 10,000 other people. If I open it up, and there are people who do not know, they might end up burning like millions and billions of tokens, and that can cost a huge amount to the enterprise, because these are not like cheap. So the only thing is ensuring that there are all these so-called policy engine that your product enables, so that as people consume these tokens or there's models or prompts, there is some way to put some limits on that, which could be in terms of rate limits, budget limits, team level limits, customer level limits. Like it's up to you. There is like a huge amount of different ways in which you can pretty much define these limits, and that's what the product needs to enable.
Okay, let's go back in time. Can you explain how you approached your first sales. So you and your co-founders, you created, let's say, an MVP, V1, right? And now you're ready to get your design partners on board. I mean, you obviously have an interesting background. You've been on both sides, like on the hedge fund side, but also on the founder side. How do you approach sales? Do you just map out your ICP and start cold outreach? Do you travel to San Francisco and go in person and wait by the door like for the CEO to come? Like what are some actual workable tactics that you've used to get your first customers?
So I would say initially getting the first customer, primarily it was, let me actually break it down. Like the most important thing is the person, no matter what position that person is, will buy from you only if they trust you. So the only exchange currency literally is that trust. Now, as a founder, you're trying to solve this problem that how can I establish trust with my potential buyer? There are different ways to do that. One is credibility. Like as a founder, if you have a great background, you have built these tech products in the past, that builds credibility. That takes the currency of trust maybe from, let's say, 0 to 20. The next thing is, can you actually get on a call with them and actually give them a view of the vision of the future? Because enterprise buyers are not buying just for the state of the product today, but they are buying into you that, okay, this person has credibility and this person also knows how the future will look like. So I can trust him or her to actually tell me and bring that product to me, which I know will evolve because I trust this person. So that takes your level 2. And similarly, there are other ways, right? So when we started, like our first goal was, okay, founders, we have the credibility that is good in terms of, the backgrounds. We mapped out our ICPs, which was early enterprises and, mid-market companies. And we figured out who in that is relevant, whether it's the VP of AI engineering or the VP of, data science or the chief AI officer, depending on the type of the enterprise or the company. And then we started reaching out from our LinkedIn largely. So that was one that helped us, get into first initial calls. And we used to kind of do the discovery and we used to share the vision that we feel that ML is like software engineering. And ideally, there should be no difference between your software engineering platform and ML platform. And that's where some of the folks who understood this probably sowed that trust in us. And that is how some of our initial customers converted. This was obviously propelled by a lot of other things. For example, we were doing a podcast called TrueML Podcast, where we used to invite the AI leaders, talk about their AI journey, talk about the deployment infrastructure they had and how they had built it, which also helped us establish credibility as someone who is bringing thought leadership into the ecosystem. So, but ultimately it boils down to what do we need to do to build trust? I think that is pretty much it.
Okay. And how soon did you start seeing results? Like, did it take, how they say that enterprise sales take about 1 year to close one deal? Did it come sooner to you or what was the process like?
I think the first enterprise customer did take from the day we incorporated a little more than a year, I'd say. It is a process that takes time, but there's one of our investor friends who called this and that kind of is a good memory. Like one big enterprise is equivalent to like 50 seed companies. So the time is, I feel, worth it. Because if you crack a good enterprise that can actually be the right design partner, that can guide you depending on what the tool should look like in a large scale setup where there are multitude of teams, multitude of, developers, multitude of business units, that actually makes your tool evolve quite a lot to enable you to sell to other enterprises. Like we have gotten insights from enterprises that have really made our product, today one of the first class enterprise AI gateways. If we didn't work with enterprises, a lot of those insights are not easy to get.
Since the process is so long, it takes long.
Yeah.
And especially at early stages, it's a very nerve-wracking, position because you have to raise money, you have to prove something to investors, you have to, there's a lot of legwork that needs to be done. You need to hire the team. There's a lot that's happening. Did it ever feel like soul crushing, or it's kind of like, okay, we're doing the right things, we'll see the results? It was kind of like slow and steady and just...
Along the pathway of landing a big enterprise, we did land a few mid-market customers. So I think we mixed it up. It was not just Fortune 1000 enterprises. We had companies that were anywhere from 100 million to 200 million in revenues that we were reaching out to, and we landed a bunch of them along the way. So our first customer we got in the first 6 months, and that was a decent sized mid-market customer, and that helped quite a lot. And obviously, once you have some customers, it helps quite a lot. It's also dependent on the type of the product. Like at that time, our product was a deployment product, which is going to be the core centerpiece of a company running all their AI, which means it needs time before they can trust you. Today, like there are products that can be, used at different life cycles of agentic development, and some of them are not necessarily have to be used in production. So that gives you a faster turnaround, a faster, easier way to start. So it depends also on the type and what problem the product is solving. Like when we launched our AI Gateway product around 2 years back, like we were able to see customers on this much faster because initially AI Gateway was more an experimental product because people wanted to use it to just switch between models and all. It was not impacting things directly in production when it was launched. Now today it is the centerpiece of production, but it depends on the type of the product is also what I would say.
So let's talk about the more recent kind of part of the journey. You recently raised Series A from Intel, right? And walk us through your plans for this round. Like right now, the market is kind of being cut up between different players, right? And you need to establish your space. And obviously, AI for enterprise is a very desirable spot to be in. Do you have certain kind of milestones for this fundraise? What are some pressures that you're experiencing? Kind of like take us through this recent raise.
So I would say, first of all, that, our investors have been really great. We have had very nice relationship with each of our investors from the seed to the Series A and even now. A lot of it is on us as to what plans we set. We are always obviously inspired and motivated by them to push what we can do. But I would say that pressure is not in any way in a bad way. Like whatever is there is more like a joint work along with our board and the rest of the investors. But having said that, our plans for this, when we kind of did the Series A raise, we were around close to maybe 20 customers, a little more than that. These are like paying customers, right? Like there were obviously others who were using the free version of our platform. And at that time, it was largely mid-market and some enterprises, like 7 to 8 bigger enterprises. Over the last year, we have grown to now have like more than 50 paying customers. And we have doubled down on enterprises because the governance, observability, and control of AI is becoming an even more central piece when you look at these enterprises. And they have also gone in their journey from, Gen AI in POCs to now Gen AI in production, where these things start mattering. So they've also realized the importance of a central control plane through which you can manage all your AI traffic. So that's one thing that has happened. So earlier, like our motion was, as I was telling, largely outbound. One of the parts of this fundraise is also to build our thought leadership and build the inbound motion, which we actually worked a lot of in the last 8 months. Like we wrote a lot of content in terms of thought leadership, engineering deep dives, in terms of, the need and the importance for an LLM gateway or an MCP gateway in an enterprise. And that has led to a huge amount of, traffic for us in terms of, architects or VPs or directors coming to talk about this is where we are at in terms of the AI journey. What would you recommend? And that helps quite a lot. So that is one muscle that we wanted to build and expand on because that is there. And our goal potentially is to reach to more than 100 enterprises by the time we get to Series B.
So when it comes to thought leadership, we at Evil Martians will write a lot of technical content. We have about 500,000 readers every year, which is pretty big for a small team. What are some things that you find are working in building that trust with your enterprise buyers?
I think I'll again double down on the word trust. So I'll give you an example, right? Like we have an enterprise, one of the biggest private companies across the globe, and they are in a journey where they want to democratize the use of MCP servers. They have around 80 use cases in Gen AI that they have kind of listed down, but they do not know today what is going to be the net use case or net scale. So what they want to do is enable people to use these MCP servers and models, and let's see what will happen. Now, if you think about that, they also do not know fully how these MCP servers will be used. So we have done at least more than 10 sessions with them, just educating them on what MCP servers is, what it enables for you, how are different ways in which people can use it, and how could you enable even your internal things to be exposed at MCP servers, because that will give you an edge. So a lot of that is not sales, it's just kind of enabling them. So I think the biggest part of trust in this era would be being able to go on a call and educate a lot of your customers, because a lot of the customers potentially are deep diving into the work that they are already doing. And AI world is moving so fast. Sometimes it helps when an AI first company that is actually building in that space can share some insights that they have learned from working with other customers, and that is something that has been appreciated. And I think that is the biggest part. In fact, we have launched something called TrueFoundry Academy, which is available to all our customers and even to prospects, where we educate them on different aspects of how to build an agentic AI app, or what are the components that go into it, or how do you ensure that you can have the governance in the right way. And later on, for our customers to actually onboard into our platform and learn about that. And in this, we not only work and talk about TrueFoundry, but we talk about all the adjacent pieces of tools. Like it could be any tool that is on the agent side, it could be any tool that is on the evaluation side or on the security side, which we try and create that awareness that this is the architecture that you need to have to able to scale agentic. And that, I think, is the most important thing.
So we are in San Francisco and we're obviously in a bubble. We talk about this with founders like yourself a lot. When it comes to enterprise sales, it's very clear to me how Fortune 1000, why are they interested in purchasing like AI infrastructure tools and learning how to do it well. When we speak about broader world, do you feel like it's still true? Like, are they aware of what's going on, or it's still going to take a few years for this AI wave to kick in?
I think if you had asked me this question maybe 1 year back, the answer would have been that, a lot of people are still getting used to it and so on. But it has really accelerated over the last 9 months, I would say. So not only enterprises, but like even in enterprises, like the companies that you would think could be legacy companies, which will be behind in tech, they are sometimes the first foremost adopters of trying to improve their internal workflows and bring huge efficiency and things like that. And even among the other set of companies, which are like mid-market, early stage companies, we are seeing that people are now trying to think of things as AI first or agent first. Like, how do I have an experience in my app, which earlier would have been a set of rules, but now I want to power it as an agent, power it as a chatbot. And that, I think, is starting to become more and more vibrant and more seen as we talk to more founders or companies, etc. It's still, I wouldn't say it's still 100%, but it's growing rapidly.
And where does your focus lie? Do you focus on the American customers, or you're thinking more global?
Our focus as a geography has been the US market in terms of, the way we kind of reach out, the way to ensure that we build credibility. And US has a lot of say on other geographies. Like when we have like a US reference customer, we have inbound also from an Australian customer who tells that, okay, you have this customer, let's also talk. So I think the centerpiece remains the US, but we have customers across LATAM, across Australia, Japan, India, UK, and all. So the spread and the density of AI customers is increasing rapidly across the geographies, but US still definitely is the leader, I would say.
When we talk about your current needs as far as the team goes, I can imagine that obviously you need thought leadership, you need sales, you need engineering. What are some people that are really hard to come by? Like, what is the hardest person to hire for you personally, and why?
One is like a product marketer who understands tech really well and is able to connect with the developer audience, because product marketing in the traditional age was very different, right? Like you needed to understand the SaaS product and you could create thought leadership around that. Today, because there's so much of noise, like when you look at sometimes the headlines of some of the companies, you will be just confused as to what they're doing. And it's very hard to differentiate, understand. So for someone who is a developer, who is an architect in a company, who is like a head of security engineering, head of infrastructure, they want to really know that piece that gives them that solution, right? Like gives them the real architecture, gives them the real workflow. And in that, it's very important that the product marketers who can understand developers, who can understand the tech, who can understand how to talk in a architectural friendly, infrastructure friendly way is something very important. And also those who can keep on upskilling themselves with the new tech that is coming. So I think that is one role I would say is a important role that matters so much to the growth, but is always harder to get and harder to scale. And the other role I think that I would call about would be the pre-sales engineering.
Forward deployment or something else?
Pre-sales, like basically when you go into, let's say, a call with a customer, right?
Yeah.
Like the traditional world, there used to be A's, and sometimes, if it's a SaaS product, they could do the demos themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas in case of, and later it evolved to solutions engineers who could do these demos, but these demos were more static. Today, the product changes every few days. So you need these pre-sales engineers to be really, again, tech focused. So you can no longer be sales engineer. You really have to be a platform engineer who is ready to talk about the product to these customers and tell them why they should use them, what is the infrastructural complexity, what will this product grow into, what will be the roadmap. So you almost need like a
technical founder
to be there on those calls. And that is a really, really hard space to fill, because so these are two roles I would say has been the most difficult ones.
That's
but
very
also
interesting.
The most needed ones.
Because they're kind of both interdisciplinary, because they both lie between technical and something else, technical and marketing, technical and business.
Exactly.
So we need more people like that.
Yes.
When you hire people, what is one quality that you feel like they all have?
When we
like an ideal hire for TrueFoundry.
When we hire people, I think at least one quality that we want everyone to have is agency, ownership. Like we talk about this internally all the times, that you really need to have extreme ownership. So there's this book by the Navy SEALs. It's called Extreme Ownership. And the way they define ownership is very nice. Like I'll probably just tell 2 lines of it. Is when you go to a war or a battle, and let's say you are 100 people, everyone has some responsibility, right? Like the person next to you is probably going to fire a missile or a tank, and the person next to you is probably supposed to save the other person next to you. But things go wrong in a battle, things go wrong in a war, and maybe the person next to you is, no longer able to do that. At that point, you cannot tell, hey, you were supposed to do this, so I will only do my part and I'll wait for you or find someone else. You do everything to kind of win and to ensure that you win the battle. I think that is what agency is. Like you cannot have people who are just, okay, this is my job and that's A, B, C is your job. You need people who own the end objective, and no matter what, they'll achieve the end objective. For that, they feel responsible. If something goes wrong, it hurts them and they actually go to correct it. I think that is probably the biggest quality.
Do you think it's possible to retain a lot of people like that as you grow? Like as you become big company?
I mean, it depends. Fingers crossed. Like we have had some great teammates who have joined us since the beginning and who have stayed with us, and we are really fortunate to have them, I would say. We would not be where we are without, the teammates in our team. And we hope that we are able to build a team that has extreme high ownership, extreme high agency, and who can take up the founder's mindset and actually pretty much make us redundant in a lot of places.
How do you motivate people to come and to stay with you?
Again, like the way to think of probably people staying with you is also in some way the trust. Like any person who is joining you is kind of joining you because they trust that if I work with this set of founders and this set of team, I'll probably be building something that is relevant in the next generation context, or I'll be, getting great teammates to work with, or I'll create a huge impact. So I think you just need to ensure that at every single moment, they are able to feel that impact, either in terms of a customer really doing something wow, or in terms of their teammates teaching them something that, they would not have easily learned elsewhere, or in terms of the future vision. So I think these are 3 pillars. And so long as you do that right, And we are learning it. Like we are, we are also like pretty much very new founders and we are learning this. But hopefully with that, like if there are good people, they'll stick around because they don't think about what am I getting here, but they are also motivated for the bigger thing that I am creating this impact and that can change the life of a customer. So I think
similar to what you said about customers, it's all about the vision and trust.
I think a lot of it is generally boils down to how do you solve for trust, whether it's for your customers, your partners, your employees, your own founders, your investors. Like things go wrong all the time, but so long as that trust is built, I think people will want to work together with you. Yeah.
How is your companionship with your co-founders? Do you complement each other as far as the skills go? Are you friends beyond work?
We have been friends for now 16 years. So we were in the same dorm room in college. And in our college, we used to have this inter-hostel competition. And we were captains for a set of competitions for our hostel or dorm room. So I used to lead the product and the case study. Vishek was the captain of open software and Nikunj was the captain of hardware. So, since then we have been close friends, and even as co-founders, we complement each other. We obviously have discussions around hard things, but it's always because we again trust each other. We know that if we are saying it, it's because we feel that that might be the right thing, and we ultimately always align.
Do you have to be here in SF like from time to time to make sure that the business is growing?
Yeah. So one of my co-founders, Nikunj, is based here in the SF, and we have an office in San Mateo. So we have a team there. And me and Abhishek, we keep on traveling every few months.
If you were to give advice to somebody who is thinking about starting a product or starting a company, AI native agency, whatever it is these days, as somebody who actually speaks with enterprise and mid-market clients all the time, what would you say is a good niche to look into? Like, as far as the product goes?
We are seeing that there has been a huge inflection in the world of voice agents. And fundamentally, if you think of the globe as your customers, like, a lot of people, the way they communicate is primarily via voice. They don't use writing or skills. Like probably there is 1/3 of the globe that's able to write and code and whatever, right? Like the rest of the globe is primarily, people who interface with voice. And a lot of those interfaces and interactions can be AI powered. So I think voice as a area is something, and if there are niches in terms of workflows that involves voice, speech, and you could build unique agents, that's a great area to look into. We are also thinking about how we can plug into being not only the infrastructure for LLMs, but also for voice agents, because they will become a huge constituent of the net set of agents that are created in the world.
Yeah, I feel like as AI becomes the commodity for just regular people,
yeah,
they're probably not going to be using Zed or something else, right?
Exactly.
To use AI. That's interesting. Okay, so we actually arrived at my final question, which is called Warm Fuzzies, and it goes like this: what makes you feel great about what you're doing today?
So the best thing is, we are powering the AI traffic for some of the companies that we used to look up to. And it's just amazing to see, okay, that, a Fortune 10 company there where we buy pharma drugs from is actually powering its IVR via our system. And some of these moments where customers succeed and they are able to launch high scale applications powered by our system, it feels great that, we have been able to build something impactful.
Finally, I would like to provide you with space to promote TrueFoundry. And I don't know if an average user can use it somehow, but maybe they can learn something from your academy or about, how to build agentic workflows. Yeah.
Maybe for everyone who is watching here, I would say that the world is changing really fast, and being on top of this agentic world needs that you, in whatever role in your company, is able to look into an infrastructure that can power all the components of agentic AI. And that needs control, that needs governance, that needs observability, and that needs the right reliability. Because you cannot launch a production application at 100 million user scale without the reliability built in, or with something that'll, give you a hate speech. So at that point, like we as TrueFoundry come in, providing you that central control plane, which we call our AI gateway. And we believe that that can help solve for a lot of firefighting and chaos that you will otherwise face in your company. And if you feel that could be interesting, we are happy to kind of generally walk you through what it means and even give you a free sign-up access to our TrueFoundry Academy, where you can learn about what it means to actually scale Agentic AI, and a free trial to our product where you can test it for scale. So really appreciate you, Victoria, for having me here. And it was a great conversation.
Thank you, Anuraag. It was a pleasure. Always great to learn about new tools, but also understand how you practically approach enterprise sales and things of that nature.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Thank you for catching yet another episode of Dev Propulsion Labs. We at Evil Martians transform growth stage startups into unicorns, build developer tools, and create open source products. If your developer tool needs help with product design, development, or SRE, visit evilmartians.com/devtools. See you in the next.